deal is also a concession if it hands over management or control of a public asset to private interests. That's where the ICRC Act applies. That is what Ayo Epo is saying. In other words, this deal, as far as the some news we have on the street was concerned, was that the Ajib ENI Owando consortium, if you want to put it that way, group will assist the Ministry of Petroleum Resources to repair the refinery. Not that it's going to be handed over to them. What do we know about that?
Exactly. That's the information that the Petroleum Ministry has said. Because to the best of my knowledge as well, too, most of the repairs being done at the refineries are meant to actually be handled by local companies. Where there is a problem is with the funding, and I believe that is where the NNPC over time has even made it clear that they're trying to get money to fund the repairs at the refineries. So I don't really understand the aspect of management being done by ENI, because ENI's target is also to build a new refinery, which is what they're actually allocating a lot of money towards. But again, that new refinery will likely be built in the Niger Delta and possibly within the same vicinity as the old refinery, so that they can share some facilities. So again, they will likely be managing their own refinery, not the old or the NNPC refinery. So again, I think some clarification needs to be made, and maybe that's for the Petroleum Ministry and the Senate Committee that has been set up to work on.
What is Dr. Kachiku at the Ministry of Petroleum Resources trying to achieve here? He has 4 refineries on his hands that are suboptimal, and he's made a promise that he's going to resign by the year 2019 if Nigeria does not produce enough petrol products locally. So Kachiku has put his job on the line, and he has signed his own resignation letter in arrears. So that's what it means, technically speaking.
Yes, and
so he has to make the refineries work.
Exactly, and if you look at the trend in the refinery data, that based on what we see on NMPC as well too, there's been some significant progress. The refineries are back up. Last year they were pumping, they pumped a significant amount of PMS into the market, and so far this year capacity utilization is also up from an average of 14% last year to over 36% already as of January this year. And so far, I believe they've maintained an above 30% average for the year. So clearly, something is right. Something is being done rightly, and there's progress being made on that front. But part of what is stalling more development is funding. And I think that's why this is being done by the Petroleum Ministry. Where the funding can be found, they're literally just going for it. But again, still like you said, I wish he hadn't pledged to put his job on the line, because we'd ideally like to see him stay on after 2019.
Do you think the Senate, perhaps yesterday shouldn't have said, well, stop all the entire process, but perhaps would have told Kachiku and the rest of his team, LGP and Owandu, Wale Tinubu and the rest of them to step forward and brief them on this deal in a public a meeting that the media will sit in and they can put all the papers on the table and brief us as to how they arrive at the deal, rather than say, stop all the works on it?
Exactly. That was what we'd expected. We'd have expected a briefing between both parties, especially since they all work together so well on the PIGB. I imagine that they would also be able to brief them, and there wouldn't be need for this pause announcement, which is not so good in terms of signaling, because again, it signals to the public or to the foreign investors that we are not together on this particular move, and that's not so good.
In terms of how do we get out of this quagmire, as it were, this dilemma of the refineries? Of course, the Jonathan's administration was more interested, a little bit more talked about, well, let us sell them off. It's going to happen sometime in 2013, 2014. It never happened. Then it all went quiet. Then we had the Buhari's administration, whose words and body language do not suggest that it's going to be a sale. So that means we will have to turn them around, do some co-location of refineries within the existing ones, so thereabout. That's where we are right now, isn't it?
Yeah, but the ultimate goal and the ultimate effort should be to fully deregulate the downstream sector. Once the downstream sector is fully deregulated, it will be profitable for private refineries to be set up, to be financed and to be set up. And then this will help us out of the issue with the having to import fuel all the time and not being able to get our refineries to work. Because if our refineries are able to sell products at, economic or profitable prices, they will be more sustainable. And I think that's an area we have to address. Because at the moment, there's still some subsidy. And even if we get the refineries to work fully, I don't believe that the refineries will sell fuel cheaper than the pump price that we're currently selling at, or we'll be able to ensure that they run sustainably, profitably. So I think that's the key thing that has to be done. Most of what we're doing right now will be fantastic. They will work to some extent, but the ideal situation or the ultimate situation will still be to deregulate the downstream sector.
Okay, Dolapo, thank you very much for us sharing part of your time wherever you are doing your own business to discuss the dilemma of refining the refineries. Thank you very much for this turnaround. The refinery conversation will continue. Dolapo, head of energy research at EcoBank. Of course, we're going to talk about this in the days ahead. Tomorrow, we're going to talk more about the refining business, and we've got some folks in the studio here to talk to us on that. When we come back after the break, the stock market, 1.1 trillion naira in just 20 days. That's a lot of money. We'll be right back.